We've really been programmed to believe that money will solve all our issues. My understanding of abundance has really shifted profoundly, and I no longer think of money in the bank as the most important aspect of abundance. Connection, true, raw, authentic, profound, deep connection. That is true abundance. Welcome to today's session, and today we're going to have a conversation about this word abundance. And I think it's being thrown around quite a lot, especially in sort of new age spiritual circles. This idea of abundance, and it's very linked in with this concept of money. And of course, I'm sure many of you have heard of the law of attraction, and we're really just going to, I guess in some ways, critique some of the stuff that's underlying this, the way it's been, I guess, skewed, and how the meaning, the true meaning of this word abundance has been largely lost. Of course, probably not for a lot of you who are present today, since you're on that spiritual journey. But recently, someone commented and they said, how can I make a lot of money? This was their question. And not to throw any shade on this person, because I'm sure every single one of us also wants to know the answer to that question, because we've really been programmed to believe that money will solve all our issues. Hello, my name is Carla. I'm a psychic. I channel a group of higher dimensional light beings whom I refer to as the Blue Team. This is my full-time profession. I also run spiritual teaching programs. Of course, I teach here on Insight Timer. I am a past life regression hypnotherapist, lucid dreamer, and magic practitioner, healer, and of course, as are we all, multi-dimensional being. And it's been quite an interesting road being on this journey and stepping fully into this path. And I think that this sort of relationship with the energy of abundance has been an incredibly important part of my own journey, and in terms of following my soul's calling, stepping into being of service in a powerful way in this realm, in this world, and also removing all of the programs within me that stood in the way from me believing that that was possible, that that was sustainable, etc., etc., etc. And share with us your thoughts on this word abundance. I really wanted to remove the connotations of abundance and money, that direct link. I think people have a lot of vibrational resistance around money and cash flow, and rightfully so. We've often inherited those kinds of strange feelings and experiences and belief systems around money from our parents, our society, a very much largely capitalist society for most of us, and who, for example, grew up with this idea or this belief, money doesn't grow on trees, whose parents used to say that to them. That's something I grew up hearing all of the time. And sure, money doesn't grow on trees in terms of, well, the money first needs to be printed by a bank. But of course, all of the materials that create physical money and all of the materials that are backed or backing currency are earth-based. They come from this earth, and they are abundant in this earth. Even if you're in a country where, for the most part, you're pretty much going to be looked after, there's often a lot of stress around money, right? And let me tell you, people, the system was designed to be this way, right? And in order to free ourselves from that system, we need to tap into spiritual truth. And learning the spiritual truth is only the first step. You know, knowing something, hearing about something, and integrating that into your life, those are two very different things. And in order that the people who hold the most power, the most money in this world, in order that they keep that power, the majority of us need to be fed the lies that we're not powerful, that money doesn't grow on trees, that we need to struggle and work really hard in order to have money. And even just this idea that money makes the world go round, right? Who's heard of that one? Which of course is not the truth, right? The sacred spiritual truths are, it's a man-created concept, people. It's a concept of exchange. We do not need money in order to live. And I think this is one of the most telling things. Now, just in case you arrived a little bit late, this conversation was inspired by someone asking me on one of the mini reading sessions, how can I make a lot of money? And this just sparked all of these thoughts and ideas. And I'm really going to pick this question apart. And of course, I can see the mirror of a younger version of myself. And even in moments when perhaps, you know, the flow is tightening up a little bit, like, oh, how can I make a lot of money right now? It's a normal question. We've been programmed to think that. But if we really ask ourselves, what is underneath that question? Because it's not money we need. What do we need? Is it health? Is it healing? Is it food, sustenance, housing? What is truly under the question? And I think that when we peel it all away, it comes down to this feeling of security. It's the sensation of pleasure. Sure, money can buy us pleasurable experiences. However, of course, I'm going to argue that there are infinite amounts of pleasurable experiences that we can have without money. Again, we've been fed this idea, right? This capitalist idea that, you know, fast cars and fancy houses and fancy holidays. You know, we've been convinced that we have to pay for natural resources like water, food that grows on the trees. And in some ways, it might sound crazy to start thinking about, but like, of course we have to pay for those things. But water, like water falls from the sky, right? Water is in abundance in this world. And of course, it's many big corporations that have poisoned a lot of our water supplies, help themselves to supplies that belong to people of those lands, poison the water, and then force them to buy the water back from those companies. And what really gives them the right to do things like that? Now, that's just one example. You know, sustenance, pleasurable experiences, security, comfort, a home, right? A place to feel safe, a space to sleep, a space to raise a family, a space to build a sense of home, of ownership. Let's replace the word ownership with belonging. Because again, we think we need money. We think we want money. Now, I understand that while we live within a largely capitalist society, we do still need money. I'm not trying to say that we should just throw money away. I read a really good quote on social media a little while ago, which said, saying that you cannot actively participate in capitalism while critiquing it is like saying you should not breathe the air while you're trying to clean it. And I think that that's also a very important thing to acknowledge. And I get it. We're still functioning very much in a capitalist society. But I do think it's very important to just dig a little bit into what does this all mean? And as a sovereign being born to planet Earth, what are my rights? I don't mean your legal rights and what your country thinks. I'm talking about sacred spiritual rights here. The right to feel safe, the right to a home, the right to wander a piece of land safely, to care for a piece of land, the right to food and clean water, the right to breathe air, freedom. These, for me, are the fundamental rights. As children of Mother Earth, this is what we rightfully deserve. It's the phase of humans revolving around money which made capitalism as absolutely greed, right? Greed. And also this belief that there isn't enough to go around and the will to have more than you need. If you have a lot of food, what do you do with that? You share it. You share that food. That's what makes spiritual sense. Essentially, this idea, how can I make a lot of money? And just a quick disclaimer, of course, I can't give you financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. We're talking about spiritual truths, spiritual concepts. We're talking about the law of attraction. We're talking about the energy of abundance. We're talking about the energy of money. This, if you take some of these tools, may help you to attract, manifest a lot of money, but in some ways, I want you to drop the need or the want or the desire to have a lot of money. And the irony of that is, I want to say, part of the process of attracting abundance, which is our right. Abundance is our right. All of us, by the way, all of us. And part of being able to step into allowing yourself to live abundantly, to let go of lack mentality, to let go of, being constrained by capitalist fears, thoughts, fear of lack, etc., etc. It is important to let go of the need to have money in order to feel abundant. And this is why it's so important to ask that question instead of saying, how do I get a lot of money? I want a lot of money. Drop the money word. And again, people have a lot of resistance around this money word, right? Ancestrally inherited and or because of difficult situations you've been through or difficult jobs you've been in where you've had to slave away for this small paycheck and you feel like you're in a prison. And let me tell you, it is a little bit like a prison. But nobody can imprison your mind. So drop the money concept. Let's look at truths, right? Do every single one of you present today have the ability to step outside at night and look at the stars? Maybe some of you who are in cities don't have that privilege. In which case, are you able to look out of your city window and see the abundance of pigeons? Or those of you who live near the ocean, are you able to look out at the ocean? To take yourself to the ocean, look out and ask yourself the question, how many drops of water in that ocean right now? How many drops of water just as far as I can see, right? How many stars in the sky? How many grains of sand on the beach? How many blades of grass at the park that I'm walking in? So everywhere you look, you can find evidence of abundance. So one of the steps is to start practicing acknowledging where there's so much abundance. I can remember when COVID hit and I lost all my income and I was stuck at my mom's house, and of course, people started reaching out for readings, and that's when I made that my main focus. And every single morning, I would take the dog for a walk to this little park, and there were 2 pine trees there. And I would sing to the trees, and I would sing to the flowers and the grass, and I would ask myself how many blades of grass, and I would literally just tap into that energy of the abundance of just this small little park, tiny little park. Because even within that park, just on one of the trees, how many leaves? Abundance. How much fiber in the bark? How many ants in the ground below my feet? And I would just really allow myself to tap into that expansive feeling, like there is this is nature, right? And let's talk about what is natural, what is nature, and we are nature, people. We are nature. What is natural and what is unnatural? Abundance is natural. Nature is abundant. We are nature. For me, and after very, very many years being on the spiritual path, and of course still having some of my moments where I feel tripped up by the abundance, money, energy thing, it happens. I'm a human being living in this society as well. I have those moments where the fears come back up. But my understanding of abundance has really shifted profoundly. And I no longer think of money in the bank as the most important aspect of abundance. I'm not rich, but I've got enough. I've got enough. And I think that's also important to understand. Do I have enough right now to do what I need? Right now in this moment, do I have enough? Because for me, that is abundance. But I think even more so, connection with people. True, raw, authentic, stare into my eyes, hold my heart, profound, deep connection with human beings and other animals and beautiful plant species of this divine earth plane. That is true abundance. And let me tell you, that is something money will never buy you. That is a space where you heal. That is a space where you connect. That is a space where you build bonds that are more powerful than anything else. I think the real gold in this experience, in this life, in this journey, the real gold is our connection to each other. The real gold is when we can stir someone's heart, when we can make someone feel held, seen, when we can witness each other, when we can hold each other while we grieve. Let me tell you, that is true abundance. When we can come together in communities to support, hold, love, that is true abundance. And this is another thing that capitalism works very hard to smash. This is why the birth of the nuclear family, like just care for myself and my immediate family, screw my parents, they can go into an old age home and I won't even know my neighbors, right? Because in community, we have true power to generate, create, and build abundance. And that makes us ungovernable. That means we do not need capitalism. That means we do not need money. And this is why a lot of the stories of empire smashes communities, completely cripples them, right? And we can see that narrative with many indigenous stories across the world. Abundance of healing energy, abundance of love and connection, right? And let me tell you, when you have true friends and true community and you don't have enough money in the bank to feed yourself, you don't need it because someone will feed you. When you have true community, you can overcome anything, right? That for me is a real abundance energy. Abundance of joy. Your ability to flow with ease in the moment. And sure, we've been sold the idea that money can buy us joy, right? It can buy us interesting experiences, okay? We could go to, some theme park, go on a roller coaster. Great, that's a lot of fun. But we can also meet our friends in the park down the road, hug a tree, have a conversation, play a game of cards, sit and talk about what it is we're experiencing. We can find joy without money, people. Now, of course, I 100% understand the crushing weight of sorrow that comes with that sentence. I'm broke and I've got rent to pay. I get it. Single mothers. I'm not trying to downplay the real experiences of challenge that come with that lack of money. But it is so important for us to interrogate our relationship with money in such an important way. So when it comes to manifesting, I personally think leave money alone entirely. What do you need the money for? And focus on manifesting that instead. So I think that's a very important key that I would like to give you. I also want to talk about this energy, which I think is quite closely related. It's this idea of success. I think that many of us have been fed this idea of success as being like number one, right? Which is this idea of better than someone else. It's a hierarchical way of thinking. And it pits us against each other. So it's this idea of competing. When I started my business, I really worked very hard on dropping this idea of competitiveness in my business, and I started connecting with people in my field. And I started seeing how we were all so unique and we have something very special to offer. And I started building these business relationships with these people, and we send referrals to each other all of the time because we come with this understanding there's more than enough business to go around. There's more than enough people needing our services. And so we can share, right? And we have a number of clients that move between us because we have different specialties, different energies, different personalities. And so you would come to me for a different reason than what you would to my friend Psychic Emma, for example, or other healers I know, Reiki healers, hypnotherapists, etc., etc. And we can work with this energy of, well, we help each other grow. We grow together. We hold hands moving through it, instead of this idea of, I've got to steal business from this person, or I've got to stand out more than this person. Nobody can be me. Nobody can be you either. Nobody can compete with me because nobody else can do what I can do. Just like I can't do what my friend can do because she's a divine, unique individual. And we can celebrate our uniqueness and our beauty without thinking of ourselves as these very separate, individualistic beings, right? Individualism, I think, is one of the diseases of our, let's say, Western society for the most part. In school, right? Who came first? You get a grade. The grades are either good or bad. You're either an A or a B or a C. I don't know how many of you were put into like A class, B class, C class, for example. So you get separated out according to how well you can perform on certain tests. And of course, those kinds of tests and the schooling system is not set up for every type of person either. And we're pitted against each other, right? Athletics, you run races, and you're either the best or you came last. We're constantly in this state of competition. And sometimes you even watch a nature documentary, and a lot of that energy is very projected onto nature. Have you ever seen this one documentary where, I think it was a David Attenborough, where they're like talking about how a forest forms and how, you know, the little seeds that fall, they grow as quick as they can, and they're fighting for the light, and they're trying to compete so that they can grow, otherwise they're going to die. And this is a very, very human way of seeing. And please go do your own research. A lot of evidence has come out around how trees in a forest will grow in a way that they don't quite touch each other, and they communicate with each other, and they look out for each other, and they function as a community. And if one tree in the forest gets sick, they will all send healing in the form of nutrients or whatever it is through the networks under the ground, which I believe is linked with the mycelium network, the mushrooms, fungus. And everything works in such divine harmony, unless, of course, man comes through with sort of like monocropping or destroying certain things. And this has been witnessed time and time again. How many of you remember when in COVID everything shut down, how quickly pollution cleared and nature started coming back? Who saw that there was actually like dolphins and swans coming back into Venice, for example? That's just one example. The pollution in China completely cleared. It's amazing how quickly nature bounces back when we stop filling her with disease and we stop industry. I mean, imagine if we were to stop production of non-degradable plastics. There is actually a mushroom that can digest plastic, by the way. This is the truth. In nature, what is natural is connectivity, is community, is looking out for each other, is sharing what we have, sharing our resources, instead of hoarding everything and keeping it away and allowing people to live in poverty and starving and without clean water and without homes. There is something very unnatural about capitalism, colonialism, and greed. Because what is greed if not the fear of lack and the fear that there isn't enough to go around? And of course, again, spiritual truth, there is more than enough. And I really do believe that the people right at the top are very aware of that, actually. I think it's a lot to do with a very closed heart. This is why knowledge can be so dangerous when in the hands of someone who wishes to destroy or perhaps doesn't fully have the wisdom of what to do with that information and that knowledge. So when we can bring more of a focus upon creating community, connection, because when we're connected, right, we feel abundant. When you go and you connect with nature, you just feel it. You know there's more than enough. Calms your nervous system, that connection with Mother Earth, just like a baby being held by a mother who has a calm nervous system, right? And this is a proven thing. This has been scientifically evidenced. So has the power of earthing ourselves. This is scientifically evidenced. It's healing, it's healthy, it gives us connection. So much in our society has been designed to disconnect us, right? Rubber tires on cars, rubber soles on our shoes. Our homes are not grounded. Probably this is why the electricity has to be grounded in the homes. So much just cuts us off. And so many people live their entire lives not touching the earth. Not truly touching the earth. Right? When last did you go hug a tree? Let me tap into the comments before I continue this conversation. It takes time to tap into abundance. Firstly, time's not a real thing. And abundance is always available. So we can literally tap into it right now. Of course, we came through to experience linear time. And for some, the journey, right? And we all have different soul journeys to explore here this time around. For some people, the journey will take time, but it need not take time, is my point. I have enough. I try to say this and thank Source every day. It is challenging with zero family or friends seeming to live with this attitude also. May you find those divine, beautiful friendship connections. It is honestly the source of life. It is the source. All right, so I also just wanted to, come back to like this. I'm throwing a lot of shade on this idea of like capitalism, individualism, competitiveness, and dare I say, like, we were all sold, and I think even for those of us who are not Americans, we were all sold this capitalist dream of like the American dream, right? Go and like build your thing, build your business, make your fortune. It's a very clever marketing propaganda machine that has turned us into these little cogs in the wheels to turn the wheels and to keep certain people in power. And I think, again, this is why I keep coming back to this concept of connection. Because when we feel so isolated, alone, individual, right? We feel powerless and we feel like we can't possibly make a change. But when we gather in community, when we connect with like-minded people, when we really learn how to hold each other, witness each other, be there for each other, when we build those real communities and we gather in our numbers, it's a practice, because so many of us have so much trauma around bonding and relationships. And again, that's also part of the design. And relationships are one of our most potent tools for seeing ourselves getting triggered and having to do some deep self-healing work, right? To witness ourselves. Some of the most triggering spaces in our lives is in relation with other people. And that's also the place where we can heal. And when we can really build those powerful communities, we can really begin to shift the world. But of course, it all starts with us. Now, I really hope that these musings have helped you to smash apart this idea of like, because money is a man-created thing. It's something we can attract, but it's not a real thing. It's not a natural thing. It's not a true thing, right? And if we can rather connect in with the true things, right, the real connection, and allow ourselves to feel abundant, right, it's from that space that we can attract more abundance. How many of you have seen The Secret, for example, and heard about the law of attraction? God bless The Secret. I think it's wonderful. I think it's magical. I think it's missing some important aspects because it's very Hollywood. It's really presented in this individualistic, I can be rich, I can be wealthy, I can have the fast car. And of course you can, sure, if that's really what you want. But I think when we really peel back the layers, that's what we've been told we should want because it's a status symbol. But when we can drop this idea of needing to be better than others, of needing to, have this big ego boost, drive the fancy car, have the fancy watch and the designer clothes, like all of that is just, again, I'm not throwing shade on people who have that stuff, like, it's nice, sure, but when you really peel back the layers, is that really, 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 really what you want? I think when we look at it from that aspect, like, because a lot of the time what we're wanting is security, but in many cases, people want to prove their self-worth because they maybe never got their father or mother's approval. They were always put down. And so they work hard to like earn all this money and like be this big shot because they want everyone to go like, wow, you did it, right? Pat on the shoulder, pat on the back. And that really is just a symptom of something that needs deeper healing, which again can be addressed through real connection within community with people. Because when you are appreciated, seen, accepted, loved, not only by others, but also yourself, right? Self-love, self-worth. When you can really step into the energy of I'm worthy of having a beautiful, connected, comfortable, abundant life. And one that I actually want to share with beautiful people, where we have these amazing heart connections. That's the true, real abundance, people. That's the true, real abundance. Now, the steps to manifesting abundance, let's reframe what it means. Let's find what it is that we really want underneath that. Like, let's forget about the money word. Let's really tap into energy. Of course, a lot of people here in the comments have shared gratitude affirmations. That's a powerful tool. When you vibrate with gratitude for that which you already have, you are able to attract more of that. A focus on quality connection with the real world around you. And by the real world, I mean the natural world around you, because that is the embodiment of abundance, and it reminds you that that is what you are. Of course, yes, work on your self-worth, right? I have created a 8-part meditation series, which is available here on Insight Time, and it is called the Abundance Activation Meditation Series. I really don't want you to try and use this as a get-rich-quick scheme, but I want you to use this to help you to align with that amazing, good feeling, that real, meaningful, heart-open, loving, self-worthy, healing kind of abundant energy. The kind of abundant energy that helps us to build a new world based on true spiritual truths. That 8-part series is essentially a series of magical invocations paired with visualization that I created for myself to drop the problematic ideas I had programmed into me by my parents, right? The ideas like money doesn't grow on trees, and you got to work really hard, or you got to really struggle in order to get anywhere or to get anything. All 8 of these meditations can be reused over and over and over and over and over again, because of course, darlings, there is power in repetition. Your ability to allow yourself to drop deep into relaxation will also be a very important key in tapping into the magic of these sessions. So if you're not very good at going into deep relaxation and just allowing yourself to receive the activation, you may need to repeat it a few times. It may also be useful to do it after you've been for a walk or been to the beach or had a nice shower, when you're already feeling like, oh, I'm in a good space. Of course, there may be times when you're just feeling stressed and anxious, and you need to remind yourself and connect in with the abundant energy, and you can use it in those moments too. I honestly owe that series of meditations. And again, I created it for myself. And then I thought, oh, I have to actually make better recordings and share this with the world, because it was so powerful. It changed my life. And that is how I pulled the courage, the healing, and the abundance to step onto a plane and fly halfway across the world and live as a nomad. And honestly, people, let me say it to you in dollars. I arrived in Bangkok in April last year, and I had $80 to my name. $80. And I didn't know where my next money was coming from. I had paid for 2 nights accommodation. And let me tell you, it was the Abundance Activation Meditation series that helped me, allowed me to draw my own strength, which is also the strength of all that is, because we are all one, and to connect myself in with the abundance that we truly are. And yes, it brought in the money, but again, drop the money, because again, being abundant does not mean you have to hoard millions and billions and trillions and millions and billions and trillions in your accounts or invested wherever, whatever. That is not true abundance. That is fear-lack mentality. That is greed. True abundance is knowing that I have what I need when I need it, and that I shall always, that I am led. And it is allowing yourself to step into the flow. Now, every time I'm feeling a little bit stressed because I need to bring a little bit of money in, because I've got this thing to pay and I've got that thing to pay, and also, I've got to do a border run because visas, right? And I've got to pay for the visa and I've got to pay for the flights and etc., etc. And in between, I need to feed myself and find accommodation where I'm still able to run my business. And I have been doing this for 1 year, and every single month I earn more money and I have less stress around money. Because it's not about the money. And you know what I focus the most on calling in everywhere I am now, and when I'm tapping into the abundance energy, because let me tell you, it is the thing that feeds everything. My people, my tribe. Connection with human beings. Please, if there is one thing you have taken from this session today, it is to value our connection to all things. That is the core of abundance. That is the core. That is how we receive abundance. It's our connection. That is where every single magical synchronicity happens. Because when we're closing ourselves off like this, we're not following those little magical synchronicities. Oh, I'm going to meet this person, that person. Oh, next thing, that person introduces me to this person. This person wants to see a psychic or do some hypnotherapy. And then that person refers me to that person. And it's not about the money at that point. It's about the connection. It's about the privilege of journeying with those people in such a sacred capacity, to aid them in seeing their power, their beauty, to aid them in doing their own healing work. I think this is something important to acknowledge as well. I think all healers are just door openers. We go, look, you can do it like that. I'll hold your hand. But every single person who heals themselves. They must step through that door, over the threshold. And I would love to share a little bit more about the Abundance Activation Meditation series for those of you who would like to tap in. And of course, if you're on premium, if you're not on premium, sign up for the 7 days trial and whack that 8-part series as much as you can. My favorite sessions to go back to, just to give you some keys, is number 2, Doorways of Abundance, very powerful program. Timeline shifting program, very powerful. Number 6, Fields of Abundance. When you need to manifest something specific, go into the field of abundance, darlings. Number 7, Oceans of Abundance, just so good for my nervous system, honestly. But I do think you should do all 8. And it is set up as a playlist on my profile, so you can find all of them. They are numbered 1 to 8. I hope that it will allow you to open up an abundance of different doorways to many different beautiful journeys. May it aid you in acknowledging that you already are that it's your truth. I think it's important to acknowledge that there isn't something magic about that program that's going to help you to connect to something that you aren't already connected to. You're already connected to it. It's just this mind space, right? And the programming we've received that prevents us from being able to access what is already there, what is already ours. Deeply grateful for the magical creation of this series. It's been powerful. May it be powerful for you to tap in and remember the truth of who you are and who I am and who we are when we connect together. Those of you who are new, of course, if you enjoyed the conversation today, if you would like to journey a bit longer with me, it would be such a divine privilege if you hit follow. And what a blessing. This is not the normal live I do in the space. I normally do group channeling sessions, mediumship sessions more recently, and mini reading sessions. Sometimes I do a group guided channeled meditation, so we do some energy healing. I'm a psychic. I channel a group of high dimensional light beings whom I refer to as the blue team. It's such a blessing to be on this path and to be doing this very sacred work. And yeah, thank you so much for being here, for joining, for tapping in, for connecting, and for listening. I would like to pray to the divinity that exists within each and every one of us, you, that higher self aspect. And I would like to ask for the unlocking of abundant, beautiful, loving, healing connection for all the divine beings of this earth. I'd like to pray for the inner liberations of each and every human, which would inevitably result in the external liberations of all peoples too. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Connection, community, healing. Love, unconditional love. With deepest gratitude. Amen, amen, amen. Thank you all for being here. So much love, so much light, so much heart opening, so much connection, and so much abundance. Bye, beautiful people.